lot of questions on the intermittent fasting and the Bulletproof coffee yesterday, so I thought I'd do a little video and explain the benefits of intermittent fasting as well as the benefits of doing Bulletproof coffee, and to kind of bust some of the health myths as well as tell you why they're actually beneficial. So the intermittent fasting, if you want to lose fat and improve your health as fast as possible without feeling mentally sluggish and slow, it's really hard to beat the Bulletproof coffee plus the intermittent fasting together. Plain intermittent fasting has become really popular as kind of a biohack as far as getting your body to burn ketones for energy as a way of losing weight. It actually shows a tremendous amount of research that it actually is very beneficial for fat loss. And the American Heart Association has recently put out their own study saying that, they used to say a bunch of small meals throughout the day to keep your metabolism going was good. Now they're switching their whole tune and saying intermittent fasting is actually better for cardiovascular health as well as reducing your risk of stroke, heart disease, atherosclerosis, as well as diabetes as well. The basic idea behind plain regular old intermittent fasting is that you eat just within a 6-hour window of your day. Personally, I like to eat lunch at about 1 o'clock since that's when my lunch break is. So that means I can eat between 1 and 7, and then I fast for the rest of the clock until 7 a.m. Until 1 p.m. the next day. So the first rule, step 1, is you got to finish eating dinner, in my case, by about 7 o'clock. No snacking, no nothing after that. But then you wake up the next morning and you do your Bulletproof coffee. You can drink 2 to 4 cups of Bulletproof coffee throughout your fasting period. I don't really like the taste of coffee, and if you know me, I don't really need any extra caffeine as I'm already pretty hyper without it. So I do just the one 8 to 12 ounce cup in the morning of my Bulletproof coffee just for the ketone burning benefits of it, not really the caffeine benefits of it. So if you do get a little hungry, you can always have another cup of the Bulletproof coffee. But no coffee after your fasting is over, otherwise you'll be up all night because of the caffeine. And then there's step 2.5. This is kind of an optional step. I don't personally do it, but I know other people do. It's not necessary to actually work out to lose weight on this particular diet, but working out is good for you. Working out will make it work much better, much more fast. It'll help you gain muscle as well as lose more fat more efficiently. So if you're gonna work out, doing a high intensity weight training, a shorter, harder exercise or activity is better than going to be like a longer, drawn out, more cardio activity. Not that cardio is bad, but if you're trying to burn fat, this is what we're talking about. Although if you are going to do your exercise, you will need to make sure you're getting enough sleep. You don't want to stay up till midnight. If you're doing the intermittent fasting and the exercise, you want to make sure you're getting proper sleep too. Step number 3, after you work out, then you can eat. You do, as far as if you're not eating till 7 p.m., you can't really eat until 1. So if you're working out, you want to make sure you get that in within your fasting window, and then you eat your lunch at 1. This means you haven't had anything other than your Bulletproof coffee from the time you woke up until your window of eating starts, in my case 1 o'clock. So I went for 18 hours without food, except for Bulletproof coffee, until I got to lunchtime, and I really have no problems getting there. I don't get hungry. I don't get that kind of gurgly feeling unless I actually cheat and eat a snack. Then I actually end up getting hungry because it triggers my insulin, and I start burning sugar for energy instead of fat for energy. So during your eating window, you want to eat as much healthy food as possible. You don't want to go eat a bunch of fast food. You don't want to go eat a bunch of things that are going to upset your stomach, a lot of dairy, a lot of sugars, a lot of processed foods. You want to try to fuel your body with the healthiest things possible, which is kind of common sense. Personally, I follow kind of a loose paleo diet where you eat a lot of vegetables, not a lot, but a lot of vegetables, some fruits, and some of my protein sources come from grass-fed beef, pasture-raised chicken, pasture-raised eggs, and very minimal dairy, and mostly it's just in the form of butter as far as cooking or with my Bulletproof coffee. As far as the 4 steps, that's basically it. Now, what actually the Bulletproof coffee is it's coffee with coconut oil and butter, and we'll go over why you put the coconut oil and the butter in your coffee. So the last 50, 60 years, it's been a very low-fat diet dogma. It's been a stigma that you don't want to eat fat, you want to keep things as low as fat as possible. This has actually had a correlating, devastating drop in people's intake of healthy saturated fats. With that drop in healthy saturated fats has also come the rise of more cardiovascular disease, more diabetes, more cancers, more inflammatory illnesses, and more brain and cognitive diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's disease. People have had this erroneous assumption that saturated fats are unhealthy and they'll raise our risk of heart disease and things like that, but it actually is the opposite that's true, because these types of saturated fats are actually anti-inflammatory, which brings all that stuff back down. Now, don't confuse the extremely unhealthy industrial versions of coconut oil and things like that, because they do make some unhealthy versions of these healthy things just because it's cheaper to produce them that way. So hydrogenated oils, things like that, are going to be on the no side of this. So fat consists of carbon molecules that are connected to hydrogen atoms. Now remember from chemistry class, you had those zigzags and those little pentagons and little circles and lines and things. That's what we're talking about. Short chain fatty acids contain 6 carbons or less. Medium chain fatty acids contain between 6 and 12 carbons, and then you've got your long chain fatty acids, which are going to be, of course, 12 and over. Now you're familiar probably with like an omega-3 or a DHA, EPA type of oil. These are going to be 13 to 21 chains or carbon chains long, but we're going to talk about something that's a little bit shorter than that, and we're going to talk about the MCT oils, the medium chain triglycerides or the medium chain fatty acids. These MCT oils actually put your body into nutritional ketosis. If you've never heard of ketosis before, there's a ketogenic diet. This is when your body actually burns fat for fuel. And when you do it in the traditional manner, it can take about a week for that to actually turn over and start burning fat for fuel. But when you do it the way I'm going to go over, you can start doing it within just a couple of days and start seeing the benefits much quicker that way. Medium chain fatty acids are digested much more easily. They're sent directly to the liver, where your liver can then break them down, and they actually have a thermogenic effect, which is going to increase your metabolism in a positive way. It's going to actually make it more effective. So this particular type of ketogenesis is achieved by replacing your carbohydrates with high amounts of healthy fats with moderate amounts of high quality, good quality proteins. And that could be your grass-fed meats, your pasture-raised chickens, or if you're a vegetarian, of course, you've got your options there as well. What ketogenesis is going to do is help reduce your appetite, help with weight loss, increase your energy, and improve your cognitive and neurological functions. So you actually don't get as much brain fog with this. And when you're like me and you got a little bit of that ADD, it actually helps keep me more focused a little bit longer as well. It also helps improve your mitochondrial function. So a subsequent positive side effect is it actually lowers your risk of diseases like atherosclerosis, which is going to be the plaquing of the arteries, of course other cardiovascular diseases as well as cancer, diabetes, and again the brain and cognitive function things like Alzheimer's, dementia, and that sort of thing. There are 4 types of MCT oils we'll talk about real quick. There's 6 chain, 8 chain, a 10, and a 12. They go by 2s, of course. The 6 carbon chain is going to be your caproic acid. This one, actually, when you extract it by itself, doesn't smell very good. It smells like goats. And the name is caproic acid, comes from the word capra, which is Latin for goat. And I don't think I really want to be consuming anything that smells or tastes like goats. But with the C6 caproic acid, this one actually causes digestive upsets, even in teeny tiny doses. This one usually is in the lower quality, cheaper MCT oils. Even at a lowest dose of about 2% within the MCT oil, it can cause digestive upset, which could mean you shouldn't trust a fart that day. Anyways. C8, that's going to be your caprylic acid. Caprylic acid is the one you want the most of. Of course, the flip side of that is it's the one that's in the least amount in coconut oil. So when you're talking about coconut oil has C6, C8, C10, and C12. C8 is the specific one that helps your body go through ketogenesis the best and the most efficiently, but it's also the one that's the least concentrated within the coconut oil. This one is actually flavorless, odorless, and much easier on your stomach. So you actually don't run into that don't trust a fart thing like you do with the C6. What I like to use is something called Brain Octane, which is just C6 oils. Of course, it's going to be a little more expensive than some of the other MCT oils because they end up having a mixture of the C6, 8, 10, and 12, whereas this is just mostly the C8 oils, which does make it a little more expensive because it takes more coconut oil to refine down to get just the C8 oil extracted out. This one also doesn't have issues with not trusting farts later. This one doesn't even cause my stomach to hurt at all. I don't get any kind of digestive upset with that either. But it also raises the ketones much more efficiently, so you also don't get as hungry and you don't feel that brain fog that you start to feel either. Now this also is only made from coconut oil. Some of them are made of a mixture of coconut oil and palm oil. As long as the palm oil is humanely harvested. The only problem with most palm oils is they're not humanely harvested, and it ends actually devastating on the environment and is causing a big problem with killing the orangutans and just stripping clean the whole landscape of the palm trees. So the only reason that I like this one in particular is because it's only coconut. It doesn't include palm oil. Not that palm oil's bad, it's just how they get the palm oil that I'm not a fan of. You also have C10. This is going to be capric acid. This is 10 chains long instead of 8. So this one's a little less efficient than the C8 is as far as getting you into ketogenesis, as it takes a little longer for your liver to turn the C10 C10 fats into ketones. So it does still work, but it does take a little more and takes a little longer. So it's a little less efficient as the C8, but the C10 is more prevalent in coconut oil, so it's again a little cheaper to make than it is just the straight C8. Not that it's bad. Then there's also C12. This is lauric acid. This is actually a good thing as well, although it's very cheap to produce because it's so abundant in coconut oil. At about 40% of coconut oil is lauric acid. Biochemists have known for a long time that lauric acid behaves a little more like a long chain fatty acid since it's so close to being one, that even those extra 2 carbons, making it a C12, make it a little bit harder to digest as far as your body having to go through a little more of the metabolic steps to break that down. So it's, again, less efficient than the C10, even less efficient than the C8. So it doesn't really break down into ketones unless you're doing an extremely low-carb diet on top of that. That's about the only way that the lauric acid is going to be as beneficial as some of the other ones. It won't curb your hunger like the C8 does. It also will not sharpen your cognition like the C8 does. The good thing about lauric acid, though, is it actually kills harmful pathogens like bacteria, viruses, and fungus. So a lot of people will take the lauric acid in coconut oil just as coconut oil itself, just to help with their gut flora and digestion in that manner too. So taking coconut oil, straight coconut oil, is not a bad thing. It just takes about 10 to 12 tablespoons of it to equal 1 tablespoon of this. So you can kind of weigh your odds there of what you want to take, ingest the most of. Most commercial MCT oils contain more of a 50-50 combination of the C8 and the C10s. Again, like I said, my preference is the C8 by itself. It is a little bit more expensive than the mixture of C8s and C10s, but it does also convert your ketones much more rapidly than the C10s do. Coconut oil, like I said, does provide a mix of all C6, 8, 10, and 12, which is a lot cheaper to buy just straight coconut oil, but again, it's not going to burn ketones as efficiently. It's not going to be as good a source of energy for your body. Your brain does prefer ketones as far as energy source as it does to glucose, because ketones are far less reactive. When they are metabolized, they actually produce more ATP for your body. And ATP is basically the battery to how your cells function. So ketones help suppress ghrelin, and they enhance another hormone called CCK. Ghrelin is your hunger hormone that you feel hungry with, and the CCK is what triggers your brain to tell you that you're actually full. So ketones help with those. They do more than just suppress hunger, but they also increase your metabolic rate. So they increase your metabolism, they decrease the amount of fat that you actually are storing, and they burn the fat that you already have on your body. That's awesome, right? So like I said, this right here is about 4 times more effective than just straight coconut oil at raising ketones. You can get this on bulletproof.com or you can get it on Amazon. It's about $25, and I think if you use 1 teaspoon a day, it'll last you about a month, so it's not too bad. As far as making the coffee, you want to make sure you get a good organic, low acidity, shade-grown coffee. If you preferably can find one that has the least amount of molds and things, which if you read how they process it, you can figure that out. The coffee itself will actually increase your metabolism by about 20% on top of just the intermittent fasting and on top of the ketone burning. Now, as far as the butter, you want to use either a grass-fed butter like the Kerrygold that you can find at your grocery store, or I like to use something called ghee. So grass-fed butter, you want to use that because cows were evolved to eat grass. They weren't evolved to sit and live on a factory feedlot and eat a bunch of grains. Grass-fed cows are proven to have a healthier dairy product, healthier milk, which you then have a healthier butter from. Grass-fed butter is more nutrient dense than regular butter. A single tablespoon of grass-fed butter actually has 500 units of vitamin A, more carotene than carrots, high amounts of vitamin K, D, and E, as well as some antioxidants as well. And when you look at a grass-fed butter compared to a grain-fed butter, the butter itself should actually be more yellow, like this ghee, versus more of a pale yellowy white, which is more of a grain-fed butter color. The ghee itself is a clarified butter, which is just butter it's kind of like it's melted down, but once it is melted down, it's actually shelf stable, so you don't even have to put it in the fridge. But what it does is it takes out the casein and the lactose, so it does taste a little bit different, and I think it just tastes kind of like popcorn butter without the popcorn, of course, but it tastes more buttery than regular butter does, just to me. But since I'm lactose intolerant, having the casein and lactose taken out is beneficial for my digestive system. So that's Bulletproof Coffee and intermittent fasting and why I do it. And I've been doing it since about mid-December, and I've lost about 8 pounds, and I've not changed anything else. Of course, I've always eaten pretty well anyways, but I don't really work out because I don't like it. Not that it's a good thing that I don't work out, but the only thing I've changed is the window of time in which I eat and what I have for breakfast, being the Bulletproof Coffee with the Brain Octane and the ghee. And that's the only thing I've done different. So if you have any questions, post your little comments in the little box down below, and I'll try to answer them as best I can. I don't know a whole lot more than what I just told you, so hopefully you found this pretty helpful. And if you're already doing Bulletproof Coffee, hopefully you're doing it the right way. And if you're thinking of doing it, now you know how, and now you know the reason for doing it. So spend a little bit of money, get the good stuff, and you'll see a lot more benefit to it.